Today I'm going to talk about honeycomb ground that you find in Bucks Point and some other laces, including torchon. This is the filling we call honeycomb, and it's worked in a series of rows of what were called long and short rows when I was taught, and I'll go through the techniques used in it. On torchon, the ground is likely to be marked on a 45-degree grid, like here. So you have a long continuous row, and then you have a row which appears to have holes missing, and then another long continuous row. On Bucks Point you get a grid that looks like this. This one's a 60-degree grid, and again it's the same system of holes where you have a continuous row and then one with gaps. So I'll show you how they worked. Both are worked in the same way with the same stitches. It's just the angle of the grid that varies. So now looking at honeycomb in a situ of a pattern. We have the long rows I talked about and then the intermediate rows. The long rows are worked as you would do with any ground, with a pair coming from one side and a pair coming from the other side to work that top pin. Honeycomb is half stitch and twist. Pin, half stitch and twist to cover. And then to work this piece of ground, I work in a diagonal manner, taking a pair from the right as I'm going down the right, and the one that's come from the previous pin on the left, above it on the left even. And I work this long continuous diagonal row before moving on. And you can work these rows left to right, right to left, as long as you're coming from the top diagonally downhill. I could work the direction there, but this gives me the longest row on this pattern. So this is the direction I'm going first. And each time it's half stitch and twist. Now this pattern has got a gimp in, which you can see in yellow. As the pairs have come through the gimp, they have two twists on to imitate the honeycomb it's going into, because if you look at the thread after the stitch, it appears to have two twists on it. So pairs coming in should have the two twists on to copy the honeycomb it's going into. And this could be the same if it was in torchon and it was coming out of a cloth stitch trail. You would have the two twists to go into the honeycomb, even if it wasn't going through a gimp. Now, having finished that long continuous row here, it's a nice joining row that's all together. I come back to the top. So I move all the bobbins and I come back to the highest pin. Again, I take the one from the left and one from the right to do this pin. A half stitch, pin, half stitch. But now this pair doesn't go like that, doesn't go down the row, it goes to the row below. So the next pinhole takes the next two pairs of bobbins, which are astride that pin, and works the stitch. And this is the intermediate row. And this is what makes it go into a round honeycomb shape. And again, those two pairs will lie to those two pins on the next row. So move both of them and get the next two pairs. This is the short row where you're just doing the pairs from one side to join in the middle. And it makes the hole in the ground. And the last one on this row. And then back to the top again. This time it's a long continuous row, the same as the first one. So each time we're taking one from the left and one from the right of the pin. And you'll see this forms the holes in the ground to make the honeycomb ring shape. This honeycomb stitch is also used in rings, sometimes with a gimp round them, and again can be found in different styles of lace. Pillow had slipped there a little bit, apologies for that. I'll just continue so you can see the rest of this line, and it's making the nice round honeycomb shaped rings in there. I'll show you again at the end of the video on the piece that's been completed and is off the pillow. So again, back to the top of the row and to the highest pin, and this is the intermediate row where you're just using 2 pairs but no continuous stitch down the line. So those 2 will go to the next line, the continuous line underneath, move both of them and get the 2 that are astride that hole in the middle. And the next 2 and the last 2. Back to the top of the ground and another long continuous row. The continuous rows where there's no breaks always take a pair from the previous pin with the next pair on the diagonal. So here I've worked the first stitch, this pair on the right will come to the next pin on the right. Whereas the one with the holes, you're taking 2 different pairs each time. And the last one on the row. Now I know it's difficult to see that on the camera, so a close up now of the piece of lace with the honeycomb finished. What I've done on this video is those first 2 lots of holes. I haven't quite finished the block, but that's as far as I've gone on the video. I've worked the long line, the intermediate line, the long line, the intermediate and the long line again. I hope that's been helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, let me know of anything you want to see, and subscribe and click the notifications button and you'll hear of new videos coming soon. Thanks for watching.